Welcome to the Sleepy Legends channel, where ancient stories unfold at a slower pace, and each moment is allowed to settle gently into the next. Tonight, we follow the path of a hero whose name has traveled across time, carried through quiet retellings and remembered in the soft patterns of the night sky. His name is Perseus, a figure shaped by prophecy, guided by unseen forces, and known not only for his deeds, but for the calm, steady rhythm of his journey when told in a softer voice. This is not a story driven by urgency or sharp turns. Instead, it moves like a slow current, steady and unbroken, guiding us through distant places and quiet moments. Together, we will pass through the stillness of ancient halls, across open water under moonlit skies, and into landscapes where silence carries its own meaning. Long before his name was spoken, before his path had taken form, there was only a question, one that lingers in many ancient traditions. Can fate be avoided, or does each step, even the careful ones, bring us closer to what has already been set in motion? In these old stories, fate does not rush forward. It waits patiently. It reveals itself slowly, like a thread drawn through fabric, connecting moments that seem distant at first. And in the life of Perseus, that thread begins quietly, long before he is aware of it. As we move through this story, you may begin to notice how small choices shape what follows. A decision made in concern, a promise offered without pause, a journey accepted without full understanding. Each moment rests lightly on the next, forming a path that only becomes clear with time. Along the way, familiar figures will appear, gods who guide from a distance, creatures that exist between wonder and unease, and places that feel both real and dreamlike. Among them is Medusa, a presence whose story has been told in many ways, each one revealing something different depending on how gently we choose to listen. But tonight, our focus remains on the feeling of the journey itself. Not just what happens, but how it unfolds. The pauses between moments. The quiet space where one scene fades and another begins. You do not need to follow every detail closely. In fact, it is better if you allow the story to move naturally, without effort. Let it pass like a distant shoreline viewed from calm water, clear enough to recognize, yet soft at the edges. If your thoughts drift, that is perfectly fine. The story will continue, steady and patient, ready to meet you again whenever your attention returns. You might imagine the night sky above ancient lands, where stories were once traced between the stars. Even now, the name of Perseus can be found there, stretched across the darkness, a quiet reminder that these stories remain, gently waiting to be heard again. Before we continue, if you find comfort in these quiet journeys, you can support the Sleepy Legends channel by liking this video, subscribing, and leaving a comment below. Many listeners enjoy sharing where they are listening from, or suggesting a legend they would like to hear in a future episode. It helps this calm space continue to grow, one story at a time. Now, as the world around you grows a little quieter, and the rhythm of the story begins to settle, we can move toward the first moment in this ancient tale. A king listens carefully, a message is given, and far from the sound of the sea, a life is about to begin. And so our story starts. The city of Argos rested beneath a quiet sky. Stone walls held the warmth of the day. The air had begun to cool, and a soft wind moved through narrow streets. Torches flickered along the palace walls. Their light shifted gently, never steady, never still. Inside, the halls were calm, wide, silent, the kind of silence that listens. At the center of it all sat a king. Acrisius watched the shadows move across the floor. They stretched and folded with the torchlight. Long shapes, then shorter ones, always changing. He had ruled for many years, long enough to understand how power feels and how it fades. There are moments in a ruler's life when the world feels stable, predictable, almost fixed in place. But this was not one of those moments. Something had shifted, not in the city, not in the land, but in thought. A question had begun to form, slowly at first, then more clearly. It had come from a distant place, from a voice not his own. An oracle had spoken. The words were simple, but they did not feel simple. They settled heavily, as if they carried weight beyond their sound. He had gone seeking reassurance, a glimpse of what might come, perhaps even comfort. Instead, he was given something else, a future, not shaped by his will, not guided by his decisions, but waiting. The message was clear. He would one day be undone, not by a rival king, not by a distant army, but by his own blood, a grandson. The word echoed in his thoughts, not loudly, but constantly. Grandson. He had no grandson, not yet, but he had a daughter, Danae. Her name moved through his mind with a different weight, softer, more familiar. She had grown within these same walls, walked these same corridors, stood in the same light that now flickered across the floor. There had been a time when her presence brought ease, a quiet sense of continuation. But now her future carried something else, a risk. The torches shifted again. Their light moved across the stone. And for a moment, the room felt smaller. The king rose slowly. His steps echoed softly, each one measured, each one certain. This was how decisions began, not with noise, not with urgency, but with stillness. He could not change the prophecy. That much was clear. But perhaps he could prevent it. The thought settled in, carefully, deliberately. If there were no grandson, then the future could not unfold. It was simple, or at least it seemed that way. Outside, the breeze moved along the palace walls. It carried no message, no warning, only movement. Within the palace, preparations began, not loudly, not publicly, quietly. Stone workers were summoned. Orders were given in low voices. Nothing written, nothing announced. A chamber would be built, deep within the palace, hidden from open view. Walls of bronze, smooth, unbroken, no windows, no doors that opened freely. A place where time could pass unnoticed, and where the future might be held still. Days passed, then more days. The work continued, measured, careful. Metal met stone, and the chamber took form. When it was finished, it did not shine. It did not draw attention. It simply existed, waiting. The king stood before it once, only once. He did not linger. There was nothing to admire, only a purpose. And that purpose now turned toward his daughter. Danae was brought quietly, without ceremony. The halls felt different as she passed through them. Not louder, not darker, just unfamiliar, as if something had shifted beneath the surface. She did not resist, not openly. There are moments when questions rise, and moments when they do not. This was one of the latter. She stepped forward, slowly. The chamber waited. Its surface caught the torchlight. Dull reflections moved across the bronze. Soft, uneven. She crossed the threshold, and the world behind her closed. The sound was quiet, a final movement of metal, then stillness. Inside, the air did not change, but time felt different. It moved without markers, without sun, without shadow, only a steady presence. Danae sat in the dim light, if it could be called light at all. A faint glow slipped through unseen spaces, just enough to shape the edges of the room. She listened. At first, there was nothing, then something subtle, a shift in the air, a presence that did not move like sound or like a breeze, but like something arriving, softly. Above her, the bronze surface caught a glow, not from flame, not from torch, but from something finer, something that shimmered. It began as a trace, barely visible. Then it gathered, light like falling gold, not heavy, not bright, just there. It moved downward in a slow descent, each small glimmer drifting without sound. The chamber remained still, but the space within it changed. Danae did not turn away. There are moments when fear rises, and moments when it does not. This was something else, a quiet awareness. The golden light continued to fall, soft, endless, and in that stillness something began. Not loudly, not suddenly, but gently, as many things do. Far above the palace, the sky remained unchanged. Clouds moved slowly across the night. The wind continued its quiet path. The city of Argos slept, unaware. Within the palace, the king returned to his place. The torches still flickered. The shadows still moved. Everything appeared as it had before. But something had already shifted. A choice had been made. And somewhere deep within the palace walls, beyond stone and bronze, beyond sight and sound, a story had begun. The night was calm, not empty, just wide. The sea moved in long, slow patterns, each wave rising, then settling, without sound that carried far. Above, the sky stretched without end. Stars rested in quiet places, unmoving. Near the edge of the water, something drifted. A shape, small against the open sea. A wooden chest, its surface worn smooth by hands and time. Edges softened, corners rounded. It rose with each passing wave, then lowered again, never resisting. Inside, there was breath, faint, steady. Danae held still in the darkness, not asleep, not fully awake. The air around her was close, but not suffocating. She listened. At first, there was only the sound of water, soft movement against wood, a slow rhythm, then something else. The space beside her shifted. A small presence, wrapped in quiet warmth. A baby that would grow to be a hero. He was too young to know the shape of the world, too young to understand the motion beneath him, but alive. The chest moved again, lifted, lowered. Time passed without measure. No light marked the hours. No shadow marked their passing. Only motion, endless. The sea did not hurry. It carried. That is what it does. It does not ask. It does not decide. It moves what is given to it. And so the chest drifted, far from the stone walls of Argos, far from the quiet halls where a decision had been made, out into open water, where nothing held it, and nothing guided it. The night deepened, the stars remained, and the breezes on the water began to shift, not strongly, not suddenly, just enough, a change in direction, a gentle push. The chest turned slightly, then again, its path altered, barely noticeable, but steady. Inside, Danae closed her eyes, not from rest, but from stillness. There are moments when the body grows quiet, even when the mind does not. This was one of those moments. The movement of the sea became familiar, predictable. A rise, a fall, a rise, a fall. The baby stirred once, a small motion, then still again. The chest continued forward, though forward had no clear meaning, only direction, only drift. Far away, where the sea met land, a faint line began to form, not visible at first. Then slowly, a change in darkness, the horizon, the first sign of morning approached without sound. Light did not arrive all at once. It never does. It begins as a suggestion, a softening of the sky, a quiet shift from deep blue to something lighter. The sea responded. Its surface caught the change, reflected it, carried it outward. The chest rose once more, and as it settled, something new appeared nearby, a shape against the water, long, narrow, moving with intention, a small boat. Its oars dipped into the sea with slow rhythm, each stroke measured, each movement quiet. At the edge of the boat sat a man, Dictys. His hands were steady, worn from years of work. The sea was familiar to him, not as something to conquer, but as something to move with. He paused. The oars rested lightly against the surface. There was something ahead, not large, not threatening, just there. He watched it for a moment. The chest moved with the waves, uncertain, unclaimed. Dictys leaned forward slightly. The boat drifted closer. No sudden motion, no urgency, just approach. The water between them closed, until the chest rested within reach. He did not speak. There was no need. His hand touched the wood. It was cool, damp from the sea. He pulled it gently toward the boat. The chest responded without resistance, like everything else carried by the water. The lid did not open quickly. There was no force, only a slow lift, a quiet shift. Inside, the dim space revealed its contents. Danae looked upward, not startled, not afraid, just looking. Light touched her face for the first time in many hours. Soft morning light, pale, gentle. Dictys said nothing at first. There are moments when words are not needed. This was one of them. The baby stirred again, a small sound, barely more than breath. The man's expression softened, not in surprise, but in recognition. Life, carried across water, left to chance, and found. The boat shifted slightly as he adjusted his weight. Careful, always careful. He secured the chest, not tightly, just enough to keep it steady. The sea continued its slow motion around them, unchanged, as if nothing had happened. But something had. A path had crossed another, and continued. The shoreline of Seriphos grew clearer as the light increased. Low hills, stone edges, soft colors shaped by morning. The island did not call out. It simply waited, as land often does. The boat moved toward it, each stroke of the oars quiet and even. The chest remained still now. Its drifting had ended, replaced by direction. Danae rested in the open air, the sky above her wide and pale. No walls, no bronze, only space. The baby lay close beside her, unaware of distance traveled, unaware of what had been left behind, and what had been found. The boat reached the shallows. The water softened, became clear, stones visible beneath the surface. Dictys stepped into the sea. The water moved around his legs. Cool, steady. He guided the boat forward, then stopped. For a moment, everything was still. The shore, the water, the air, all quiet, as if holding the moment in place. Then, slowly, he lifted the chest once more and carried it toward land, each step firm, unhurried. Behind him, the sea continued, endless, unchanged, but the journey it had carried was complete. And on the quiet island of Seriphos, under a sky that had fully awakened, a new life began. The island of Seriphos rested under a quiet evening sky. The light had faded slowly, not suddenly, but in soft layers. The sea beyond the shore moved in gentle rhythm, a steady rise, a steady fall. Within the island's small palace, a different stillness gathered. Torches burned along the walls. Their light shifted in slow patterns, warm tones moving across stone. The air carried the faint scent of food and smoke. Not strong, just there. A gathering had been called, not large, not loud, but deliberate. Men arrived in quiet groups, their steps soft against the floor, their voices low. At the center of the hall stood a long table, simple, well used. At its head sat a king, Polydectes. His gaze moved slowly across the room, not searching, not uncertain, measuring. He had watched this island for many years, its people, its patterns, its quiet routines, and among them, one presence had not gone unnoticed. Danae. Her life had remained calm, removed from the center of power, yet never far from view. There are moments when attention grows into intention. This was one of them. The king leaned back slightly, his hand resting against the wood beside him. The hall settled. Conversation faded. The kind of quiet that comes when something is about to be spoken. Perseus stood among the others, no longer a child but a young man, no longer unaware, but not yet shaped by what would come. He listened, not with concern, not with expectation, just listening. The king began to speak. His voice was steady, measured. He spoke of a journey, a gathering of gifts, a tradition of honor. The words moved smoothly, without pause, each sentence placed carefully. The men in the hall nodded slowly, not in agreement, but in recognition. This was familiar. A request from a king is not easily refused, even when it sounds like a suggestion. The king's gaze moved again. It came to rest on Danae's son, only for a moment, but long enough. A shift in the air followed, small, almost unnoticed, but present. The request took shape, not forced, not urgent, spoken as if it were simple. Each man would bring a gift, a sign of respect, a gesture of loyalty, something of value. The room remained still. The meaning settled slowly. Gifts require preparation, time, resources. Not all possessed these equally. Our hero felt the weight of the moment, not heavy, but clear. He had little to offer, no herd, no crafted treasure, only himself. The king's voice softened slightly, almost kind. He spoke again. This time the words turned, not toward the room, but toward one person, Perseus. A suggestion, lightly spoken. What gift could he bring? The question did not linger. It did not need to. The answer formed quickly, spoken without hesitation, without pause, the kind of answer that comes before thought, before caution. He would bring something rare, something known, something impossible, the head of Medusa. The words settled into the room, quietly. No one moved, no one spoke. The torches continued their soft flicker, light shifting across faces, across stone. The sea beyond the walls continued its rhythm, unchanged, but inside the hall something had shifted, not loudly, not suddenly, but completely. The king did not react at once. He allowed the moment to remain, to settle. Then, slowly, he nodded. A small movement, almost gentle, as if the answer had been expected, as if the path had already been chosen. The gathering began to loosen. Voices returned, low, careful, but different now. Each person aware of what had just been set in motion. He stood still for a moment longer. The king's words remained with him, not heavy, but clear. There are moments when a path begins without warning. This was one of them. No map had been drawn. No plan had been formed, only a direction. The hall slowly emptied. Footsteps faded into distant corridors. The torches burned low. WER. Their light softer now, less certain. Outside, the night deepened once more. The sky stretched wide above Seraphos, unchanged. The sea moved in its steady rhythm, unaware of what had begun. The young man stepped out into the open air. The cool night met him quietly. No sound beyond the distant water. No movement beyond the shifting breeze. He looked outward, not toward anything specific, just outward. There are journeys that begin with preparation, and others that begin with a single moment, a single choice. This was the latter. Behind him, the palace returned to stillness. The king remained within, watching, waiting. The request had been made. The answer had been given. And somewhere beyond the edge of the island, far past the reach of calm waters and quiet shores, a place existed where stone did not move, where silence held its shape, where a gaze could end all motion. The path toward it had already begun. And though the night remained calm, and the sea continued without change, the journey ahead of our hero had taken form. The night remained still, not empty, but settled. A soft breeze moved across the island, barely felt, barely heard. The sea continued its slow rhythm, a rise, a fall. Our hero stood beneath the open sky. He had not moved far, only beyond the walls, only into the quiet. The air felt different here, less contained, less shaped by stone. He looked outward, not searching, not expecting, just looking. The stars rested above him, faint, distant. Their light did not flicker like flame. It held steady. There are moments when the world feels unchanged. This was one of them, and yet something had begun. A path had opened, without form, without direction, only a sense of movement ahead. He lowered his gaze. The ground beneath him was still, cool stone, worn smooth over time. No sign marked where to go. No voice called him forward, only quiet. Then, a shift, not in sound, not in light, but in presence. The air seemed to settle differently, as if something had arrived. Perseus did not turn quickly. There was no need. He became aware of it slowly, like noticing a change in the wind. Beside him, the space held a new stillness, not empty, occupied. Hermes stood where there had been nothing. No footsteps had announced him. No movement had revealed his arrival. He simply was. His form was light, not bright, but clear, defined without weight. The air around him felt calm, balanced, as if motion and sea less existed together. He watched Hermes, not with fear, not with surprise, only awareness. There are moments when the unknown feels distant, and moments when it feels near. This was near. Hermes spoke. His voice was quiet, even. It did not echo. It did not carry far. It remained where it was spoken, each word placed gently into the space between them. Not a command, not a warning, a direction. The path ahead would not be simple, but it would not be without guidance. As he spoke, something shifted again. Another presence, steady, measured. Athena stood just beyond the edge of shadow. Her form held stillness, not the stillness of silence, but the stillness of thought. Focused, clear. The torchlight from the distant wall caught her outline. Soft reflections, subtle movement across polished surface. She did not step forward at once. She remained where she was, observing. Then, slowly, she raised her hand. Not quickly, not sharply, a single motion. From that motion, an object appeared. A shield. Its surface was smooth, reflective, not bright like flame, but clear like still water. It did not distort what it held. It revealed it. Perseus looked at it. His reflection met him there. Calm, unchanged, but different now, because the path ahead had already begun. Athena did not speak much. Her presence carried meaning without sound. The shield was placed into his hands. It was not heavy, but it carried purpose. A tool not for force, but for seeing, for knowing where not to look. The air shifted once more. Hermes moved slightly, a small motion. From his side, another object appeared. Sandals, light in form, simple, but shaped with care. They did not rest heavily on the ground. They seemed ready to move, always. Hermes placed them near the young man, without instruction, without explanation. Some things do not need words. He understood, not fully, not yet, but enough. The quiet around them deepened. The night remained unchanged. The sea continued its slow breath beyond the shore. But within this moment, something had been given. Not power, not certainty, but preparation. The kind that does not draw attention. The kind that waits until it is needed. Athena's gaze remained steady, not on the path ahead, but on the hero himself, as if measuring something unseen. Then, just as quietly as she had arrived, her presence began to soften, not vanish, but withdraw, like light fading at the edge of evening. Hermes remained a moment longer, his expression unchanged, calm, knowing. Then he too stepped back, not turning, not moving away in the way others would. He simply became less present, until the space beside Perseus was empty once more. The night returned, unbroken. Still, the shield rested in his hands. The sandals waited beside him. The air felt the same, and yet, not the same. He stood for a while longer. No urgency, no sudden motion, only awareness. The path ahead had not revealed itself fully, but it had begun to take shape, not in the distance, but here, in the quiet, in what had been given. The sea moved again, a rise, a fall. The stars remained steady above, and here, standing between silence and motion, between what had been and what would come, he took the first step forward. The path did not reveal itself all at once. It unfolded slowly, in fragments. Perseus moved across unfamiliar ground. The island of Seriphos had faded behind him, not suddenly, but with distance. The sea was no longer close, its steady rhythm now only a memory. Ahead, the land changed. The air grew cooler, thinner. The light softened, as if held back by something unseen. There are places where sound travels easily, and places where it does not. This was the latter. Each step felt contained, not echoed, not carried. The ground beneath him shifted from smooth to uneven. Stone, rough, untouched. He continued forward, not quickly, not slowly, just steadily. The sandals moved with ease, light against the ground, almost without weight. The shield rested at his side, its surface dim now, holding only faint reflections. Time passed without measure, no clear marker, no clear change, only progression. Then, a shape formed ahead, not large, but distinct, an opening in the land, dark, still, a cave, its edges uneven, carved by time, not by hand. No light reached beyond its entrance, only shadow. He paused, not from fear, not from doubt, but from awareness. There are thresholds that feel different. This was one of them. The air at the entrance held a quiet weight, cooler, denser, as if the space beyond had been waiting. He stepped forward. The light behind him softened further, then faded. Inside, the darkness was not complete. A faint glow moved along the stone, barely visible, enough to shape the path ahead. The walls were close, then wider, then close again. The ground shifted beneath each step, smooth in places, uneven in others. No sound returned to him. His movement remained his own, alone. Then, a sound, soft, not from ahead, not from behind, but somewhere within the space itself. A faint motion, like something being passed. Slowly, carefully, he remained still. The sound came again, a quiet movement, then stillness, then movement once more. A pattern repeated. He moved toward it, not quickly, measured. The glow deepened slightly as he approached, not brighter, just more present. And within that dim space, shapes began to form. 3 figures, seated close together, not separate, not distant, but bound by proximity. They did not rise. They did not turn. They remained as they were, still, yet not unaware. These were the Grey, not named in sound, but known in presence. Their forms were aged, worn by time, their movement slow, deliberate. Between them, something passed. A single object, small, round. It moved from one hand to another, carefully, as if its loss would mean something more than absence. He watched. The pattern continued. One reached, another received, then passed again. Always the same, always in sequence. The space remained quiet. No greeting, no warning, only the motion. There are moments when understanding arrives without words. This was one of them. The object was not just held. It was shared, needed. He stepped closer. The movement did not stop. It did not change, as if his presence had already been accounted for. He waited, not long, but long enough. The rhythm became clear. The timing, the pause between each passing, the moment when the object left one hand and had not yet reached another. That moment, brief, but real. He moved, not suddenly, not forcefully, just enough. The object was in his hand, light, smooth, and then, stillness. The movement ceased. The space shifted, not loudly, not sharply, but completely. The Grey no longer reached, no longer passed. They remained as they were, but something had changed. A quiet awareness filled the space. Perseus held the object. It reflected the faint glow around him, not brightly, but clearly. An eye, a single eye, not fixed, not resting, but capable of seeing, even now. He did not turn it toward himself. He did not look into it. He simply held it. The silence deepened. Then, a voice. Not from one, not from another, but from all. Soft, worn, as if shaped by time rather than breath. It did not ask. It did not question. It understood. A balance had shifted. What was taken would be returned, but not without exchange. The path ahead required knowledge, not strength, not speed, direction. He remained still. The eye rested in his hand. The faint glow around them held steady. The voice spoke again, quiet, measured. It described a place, not clearly, not fully, but enough. A distant land, removed from this one, where stillness held its form, where movement ended, where a gaze could turn life into silence. The words settled, not heavy, but lasting. He listened. Then, slowly, he stepped forward once more. He returned the eye, gently, without force, without delay. The movement resumed. One hand reached, another received. The pattern restored, as if nothing had changed, but something had. The path ahead was no longer unseen. It had direction now, faint, but present. Perseus turned. The cave behind him remained dark, Still, the air shifted slightly as he moved away. The faint glow followed for a moment, then faded. The entrance appeared once more, a soft outline, then light. He stepped beyond it. The open air met him quietly. Cool, wide. The world had not changed. The sky remained above. The land stretched outward. But now, there was a place ahead, a destination, not close, not simple, but known. And as the breeze moved gently across the empty ground, and the silence settled once more around him, and our hero continued forward. The path narrowed as it moved forward, not sharply, but gradually. The land became quieter, not silent, but reduced. Fewer sounds, less motion. Perseus walked without pause. The ground beneath him felt older here, worn, untouched by recent steps. The air carried no scent of the sea now. Only stone, only stillness. Ahead, the horizon shifted. A darker shape formed against the sky. Low, uneven, an island. It did not rise sharply from the water. It settled into it, as if it had always been there. The sea around it moved differently, slower, as if something beneath the surface held it back. He stopped at the edge of the shore. The water lay before him, flat, unbroken. No strong waves, no restless motion, only a slow, quiet rise and fall. The sandals rested lightly against the stone. They did not sink. They did not hesitate. He stepped forward. The water did not resist him. It accepted the movement, carried it, each step smooth, each motion quiet. The distance to the island closed slowly. The sky above remained unchanged. Dim light, faint stars. No wind moved across the surface. No sound followed him. When he reached the far shore, the ground rose gently beneath his feet. Stone again, dry, still. He stepped onto the island and paused. There are places where the world feels alive, and places where it feels held. This was held. The air did not move. It rested. The ground did not shift. It remained. Ahead, shapes stood in the dim light, not moving, not changing. Forms, tall, low, broken, all still. Perseus moved forward, carefully, not from fear, but from awareness. The shapes grew clearer as he approached. Stone, not shaped by hand, not carved with intention, but formed, caught. Figures frozen in place, some reaching outward, some turned away, some standing as if mid-step, none moving, none breathing. The space between them remained open, but not empty. There was a presence here, not visible, but felt, a quiet tension, like a held breath. The shield at his side caught a faint glow. Its surface reflected the space around him, not directly, softly, as if the world it showed was slightly removed. He lifted it slowly. The motion was careful, measured. He did not look ahead, not fully. His gaze rested in the reflection. The shapes appeared there, shifted slightly, less defined, safer. He moved again, step by step. The ground beneath him remained steady. No sound followed, no echo returned, only the quiet of the island. The stillness deepened as he moved further in. The stone forms grew more numerous, closer together, almost forming a path. or perhaps a warning. He continued, not quickly, not slowly, just forward. Then, a presence, stronger now, not seen, not heard, but unmistakable. It rested ahead, at the center of the island, where the ground leveled, where the stone forms faced inward, as if drawn toward something. He slowed. The shield remained before him, its surface steady, holding the reflection. There, within it, a shape began to form, different from the others, not frozen, not still in the same way, alive, but unmoving. A figure, low to the ground, surrounded by shapes that had once moved. The reflection wavered slightly, not from motion, but from distance, from the quiet tension in the air. Our hero did not raise his eyes. He did not look directly. The path required something else. Not strength, not speed, control. He stepped forward again. The presence sharpened. The stillness around him grew deeper, as if the island itself were watching. The shield held the image, clear enough, distant enough. He adjusted his grip, carefully, the motion slow, almost unnoticed. The space did not change, but the moment did. Everything had led here, not loudly, not all at once, but steadily, through quiet choices, through unseen guidance, through stillness. He took one final step forward and stopped. The reflection held steady before him, the shape within it waiting, unmoving, unaware. The air did not shift. The ground did not move. The sea beyond the island remained calm. Everything held in place, as if time itself had paused. And in that quiet space, between motion and stillness, between sight and reflection, the moment had arrived. The island did not move. It did not breathe. It held. Perseus stood within that stillness. The shield remained before him, steady, reflective. He did not look beyond it, not directly. The shape within the surface remained, low, coiled, present, unmoving. The air carried no sound, no wind, no distant motion, only a quiet pressure, as if something watched without needing to see. Perseus adjusted his stance, slowly, carefully, each movement measured, each motion contained. The sandals held firm against the stone. They did not slip. They did not shift. The ground beneath him remained steady, unchanging. There are moments when time seems to pass, and moments when it does not. This was the latter. Everything remained suspended. The reflection in the shield did not waver. It held its shape, and within it the presence waited. Not asleep, not unaware, simply still. The young man breathed, slow, even. The motion did not disturb the air. It remained close, contained. His hand moved, not quickly, not with force, just enough. The blade he carried caught a trace of light. Faint, soft. It did not shine. It simply existed. He held it low, close to his side. The shield remained raised, between him and what waited. There was no sound of approach, no warning, only proximity. The space between them narrowed. Slowly, carefully, the reflection sharpened. Edges became clearer, shapes more defined. He did not look up. He did not turn his head. His focus remained within the surface, guided by distance, by angle, by control. The stillness deepened. The stone forms around him remained unchanged, silent witnesses, caught in their final motion, as if the island remembered each moment and held it forever. Perseus stepped forward, one step, then another, each one placed with care. The blade lifted slightly, not high, just enough. The reflection showed the shape clearly now. Close, within reach. The presence did not move. It did not shift. It did not react. The moment stretched, longer than it should, long enough to feel complete. And then, it happened, not loudly, not suddenly, but with certainty. The motion was brief, a single movement, clean, controlled. The blade passed through the stillness, and the moment ended. There was no cry, no sound of struggle, only silence. The reflection changed, slightly, then settled once more. Our hero did not lower the shield. Not yet. He remained still, waiting. There are moments when action ends, and moments when consequence follows. This was between them. The air remained unchanged. The ground did not shift. The island did not respond. Only a quiet release, barely felt. The blade lowered slowly, the motion careful, deliberate. He stepped back, one step, then another. The shield remained before him, steady, reflective. Only when distance returned did he allow it to lower, slowly, without haste. The space before him remained still. The presence no longer held the same weight. It had changed, not removed, but transformed. The stone forms around him did not move. They remained as they were, unchanged, as if nothing had happened. But something had. A moment had passed, and with it a path had shifted. The island remained quiet. The sea beyond its edges continued its slow motion. A rise, a fall. The sky above held its distant light, faint, unmoving. He stood for a while longer, not from hesitation, but from stillness. Then, slowly he turned. The path behind him remained open, clear. He began to walk, each step steady, each motion calm. The sandals moved lightly against the stone. The shield rested once more at his side. The blade remained still, carried. The island did not follow. It did not hold him. It released him as quietly as it had received him. The shoreline appeared once more, low, unchanged. The water waited, calm, unbroken. Perseus stepped forward. The sea accepted him again, carried him back across its surface. The island faded behind him, not quickly, but steadily, until it became part of the distance. The path ahead remained, unseen, but moving, and though the world returned to its quiet rhythm, something had been completed, something brief, something lasting, and the journey continued. The sea carried him away from the island, not quickly, not slowly, just steadily. Perseus moved across the water once more. The surface remained calm, unbroken. The island behind him faded into distance. Its stillness remained, but far away now. The sky began to change, not all at once. A soft light gathered at the edge of the horizon, pale, faint. The stars withdrew slowly, not gone, just less visible. The air shifted, cool, gentle. The first sign of morning approached. He did not hurry, There was no urgency in his movement. The path continued as it had before. Quiet, unfolding. Ahead, the outline of land began to form. Distant at first, then clearer. A shoreline, low cliffs rising from the sea, stones shaped by time. The water grew lighter beneath him, reflecting the sky, soft tones spreading outward. He reached the edge of the shore. The water shallowed, stones visible beneath the surface, smooth, still. He stepped onto the land. The ground felt firm, unchanging. The sea remained behind him, quiet, as it always had been. He paused, not from weariness, but from awareness. The air here was different, open, wide. A faint sound moved across the distance. Not loud, not sharp, a low presence, like wind passing through space, but slower. Perseus listened. The sound returned, faint, carried across the open ground. He moved forward. The land stretched ahead, uneven, stone and sand. No clear path, only direction. The light continued to grow, soft gold blending into pale blue. The sky opening. He reached a rise in the land, a gentle slope. From there, the space beyond revealed itself, and in that space, something remained. A shape, still, against the stone, not part of the land, not shaped by wind or water, placed, held. Perseus slowed. The sound returned again, faint, closer now, a quiet movement of air, a presence waiting. The shape became clearer, tall, bound to the edge of the stone, arms extended outward, held in place. The light reached it slowly, revealing form, not stone, not still in the same way as the island behind him, alive, but unmoving. Perseus did not stop. He continued forward, carefully. The ground beneath him remained steady. The air carried the faint sound again. A soft breath, barely there. He reached the base of the stone. The shape stood before him now, clear, present, a figure held in place, bound, facing outward toward the sea, not resisting, not moving, only waiting. He stood for a moment. The light continued to rise around them, the sky widening, the sea behind him reflecting the growing day. There are moments when action follows quickly, and moments when it does not. This was one that waited. He looked outward, not at the figure, but beyond it. The horizon stretched far into the distance, and there, beneath the surface of the water, a shift began, subtle, almost unseen. The water changed, not in height, but in movement, a deeper motion, slow, rising. He felt it, not through sound, not through sight alone, but through presence. The air grew heavier. The stillness broke slightly, not completely, just enough. The water moved again, this time with weight, a form beneath the surface, large, unseen, but approaching. The figure against the stone remained still, unaware, or perhaps aware in a way that did not show. The light continued to spread, soft gold touching the edges of stone. The moment held, balanced, between calm and motion, between stillness and change. Perseus stepped forward, not quickly, but with purpose. The space between him and the figure closed. The water behind him shifted again, closer now, the surface tightening, drawing inward. The sound returned, not loud, but present, the kind of sound that does not need volume, only distance. Perseus reached the stone. The figure remained bound, silent. The light touched both of them now, soft, even. The sea moved once more, the shape beneath it rising, the moment no longer still, no longer waiting, but beginning. And in that quiet space, between the first light of morning and the movement beneath the water, the next part of the journey unfolded. The moment did not pass. It held. Perseus remained where he stood. The light continued to rise, soft, even. The figure at the stone did not move. The air between them stayed quiet. But the sea had begun to change. A deeper motion moved beneath the surface, not seen clearly, but felt. A slow gathering. The water drew inward, not sharply, not violently, just enough to shift the stillness. Perseus turned slightly, not toward the movement, but away from it. His gaze lowered. The shield lifted, slowly, carefully. Its surface caught the light, not bright, not sharp, just enough. The reflection settled into place. The water appeared there, soft, distorted, but visible. The movement beneath it grew closer, a shape forming, large, rising, but still unseen directly. Perseus did not hurry. There are moments when speed breaks the balance. This was not one of them. His hand moved, measured. What he carried remained hidden for a breath, then revealed, only within the reflection, never in direct sight. The surface of the shield held it, a presence, still, unchanging. The movement beneath the water reached the edge of form, almost breaking through, almost seen. Then, it stopped, not gradually, not slowly, but completely. The water stilled. The shape beneath it no longer moved. No ripple followed. No wave carried forward. Only calm. Perseus held the position, not lowering the shield, not shifting his stance. The moment remained, balanced. Then, slowly, he lowered his hand. The reflection faded. The surface returned to stillness. Nothing remained beneath it. Only water, quiet, endless. The air softened. The faint tension that had filled the space began to release. Not all at once, but gently, like breath returning. Perseus turned back toward the stone. The figure remained, bound, still, but no longer held by the same quiet weight. He stepped forward, the ground steady beneath him, the light now fully present across the shore. His hands moved to the bindings, simple, rough, not made to last. They gave way without resistance, the tension within them already gone. The figure stepped free, slowly, not rushing, not speaking, only standing. The air between them remained calm. No words were needed. The sea behind them continued its steady rhythm. A rise, a fall, unchanged. The sky stretched wide above, soft light filling the space. He stepped back slightly, not turning away, just allowing space. The moment did not linger. It did not expand. It simply settled, as many moments do. The figure moved forward, one step, then another, free now, unbound. The shore held no trace of what had nearly arrived, no sign of disturbance, only calm water, only open sky. Perseus turned once more toward the horizon. The path ahead remained unclear, but present, and as the light continued to rise, and the sea returned to its quiet rhythm, the journey moved forward again, gently, without sound. The light had fully arrived, not harsh, not bright, just present. The sea behind him settled once more. The movement beneath it had passed, faded. What remained was calm. Perseus stood at the edge of the shore. The air felt different now, warmer, lighter. The horizon stretched wide before him. Nothing rushed, nothing pressed forward. The moment had already shifted. He turned, not quickly, just enough to face the path behind him. The journey forward had been long, unmarked, but the return felt known. The water accepted him again, as it had before, each step smooth, each movement quiet. The shoreline faded behind him. The open sea stretched once more, wide, unbroken. Time passed without measure. The sky moved slowly above, soft light drifting across its surface. No clouds gathered, no wind rose, only distance and motion, steady. Our hero did not hurry. There was no urgency now, only continuation. The island of Seriphos appeared slowly. At first, only a shadow, low against the horizon, then clearer. Stone, shape, familiar ground. He reached the shore as the light settled into day. The water shallowed, clear, still. He stepped onto land. The ground felt unchanged, as if no time had passed at all. The same stones, the same air, but something had shifted within it. Not seen, felt. He moved toward the palace, the path familiar beneath his feet. Each step steady, each motion calm. The walls rose ahead, stone catching the light in soft patterns. The entrance stood open, as it always had been. Inside, the air held a different stillness. Not the quiet of night, but the quiet of something waiting. Perseus stepped within. The hall stretched before him, long, dim. Torches burned along the walls, their light softer now, less uncertain. The room was not empty, but it was quiet. Voices had faded, movement had slowed. At the far end, the king remained. Polydectes. He had not changed his place. He sat as before, watching, waiting. The space between them held stillness. He continued to move forward, not quickly, not slowly, just steadily. Each step echoed faintly, soft against the stone. The hall did not respond. It held the sound, then released it. The king's gaze followed him, measured, unbroken. There are moments when expectation fills a space. This was one of them. But it did not press. It did not rise. It simply remained. Perseus stopped at the center of the hall. The distance between them closed. Not completely, but enough. The air felt still, balanced. The torches flickered, light shifting across the stone, across the walls, across the space between them. Perseus did not speak. He did not need to. His hand moved, slowly, carefully. What he carried remained unseen for a moment, then revealed. The motion was small, but complete. The stillness changed, not loudly, not suddenly, but entirely. The king's expression did not shift at once. He remained as he was, watching, as if the moment required time, as if understanding moved more slowly than sight. Then, a change, subtle, barely visible. The air in the hall tightened, not with sound, but with presence. What had been requested had been brought. There are moments when power speaks loudly, and moments when it does not. This was silent. The torches continued their slow movement, light bending across the stone. The room remained still. Then, a final shift, not seen in motion, but in result. The space that had been held by one presence was no longer the same. The hall did not react. It did not change its shape, but something within it had ended. Perseus lowered his hand, the motion slow, measured, complete. He did not remain. There was no reason to. The path that had begun here had now returned. He turned. The hall opened behind him. The light from outside reached inward, soft, even. He stepped forward. The air shifted again, from stillness to openness. Outside, the island rested in quiet daylight. The sea beyond the shore moved in its steady rhythm, unchanged. A rise, a fall. The sky stretched wide above, clear. Perseus paused once more, only for a moment, then continued. The palace behind him grew still, returned to quiet. The path ahead remained open, unwritten, but ready. And as the light settled across the land, and the sea continued without end, the journey moved forward, not with urgency, not with force, but with quiet completion. The day moved slowly across the island, not hurried, not delayed, just steady. The palace behind him had grown quiet again. The halls held their stillness. The torches burned low. Perseus walked beyond the walls. The path beneath his feet felt familiar, stone worn smooth by time. The air was warm now, soft. The sea moved in the distance, a quiet rhythm, unchanged. He did not turn back. There was nothing left to return to, only what lay ahead. The island stretched outward, low hills, open ground, nothing sharp, nothing urgent. He walked without hurry, each step measured, each motion calm. Time passed, not marked, only felt. The light began to soften. Slowly, the sun lowered toward the horizon. Colors shifted, warm tones fading into something quieter. The air cooled slightly. The wind returned, faint, barely present. He continued forward. The path led beyond the edges of the island, toward distant lands, toward places not yet seen, but already part of the journey. There are paths that begin with a clear end, and others that do not. This was one that circled, quietly, without drawing attention, far from the island, beyond the familiar shore. The land opened into a wide and empty space, flat, unbroken, the kind of place where sound carries lightly and disappears just as easily. Our hero stepped into that space. The ground felt different, less worn, less shaped by time. The sky above stretched wide, nothing between it and the land, only distance. There were others here, not many, scattered across the open ground, their movement slow, measured, a gathering, quiet, without urgency. He moved among them, not apart, not separate, just present. There was no tension here, no weight from what had passed, only a continuation, a moment shared within a larger path. The light continued to fade. The sky softened further, colors blending into dusk, a gentle dimming. Someone moved nearby, a small motion, barely noticed. An object passed through the air, not fast, not forceful, just released. It traveled in a quiet arc, across the open space. Perseus did not step aside. He did not turn away. There are moments that arrive without warning and cannot be changed. This was one of them. The object reached him. A brief contact, light, then stillness. The moment did not echo. It did not repeat. It simply occurred. The space around him remained calm, unchanged. The others did not react. The air did not shift. The sky continued its slow descent into night. He stood for a moment longer, not from hesitation, but from stillness. There are endings that arrive with noise, and others that arrive quietly. This was quiet. The path had come full circle, not with intention, but with completion. The prophecy that had begun in a distant hall, spoken in low voice and quiet fear, had found its place, not through force, not through pursuit, but through motion, simple, unavoidable. The light faded further. The sky deepened into blue, then darker still. Stars began to appear, one by one, soft points of light, unmoving, endless. The ground beneath remained steady, the air calm, the world unchanged, and yet something had completed its course. The name of Perseus would not fade. It would not remain only in story or in memory. It would rise, placed among the stars, where paths are traced not by footsteps, but by light. And there in the quiet sky, stretching across the stillness of night, the journey would remain, not as it was lived, but as it is remembered, a path of quiet choices, a movement through stillness, a story carried forward, gently, endlessly. And as the night settles around you, and the rhythm of this story comes to rest, you may find your thoughts beginning to drift, not away, but inward, following their own quiet path. If you would like to continue this journey, there are more stories waiting here on the Sleepy Legends channel. You can gently like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment with a place or legend you would enjoy next. But for now, there is nothing more you need to follow, nothing more to hold, only the quiet, only the stillness, and the soft light of distant stars. The night has settled, not suddenly, but gently. The light has faded, not gone, just softened. The sky stretches above, wide, still. The stars remain, unmoving, or so they seem. The world has grown quiet again, not empty, just calm, as if everything has found its place. The path has been followed, step by step, through stone halls and open water, through stillness and motion, through moments that arrived quietly, and passed the same way. Perseus no longer walks the path as before. The journey has changed, not ended, but lifted, carried somewhere beyond the ground, where movement becomes memory, and memory becomes something softer. The sea continues its rhythm, a rise, a fall, endless, unbroken. The land remains, stone resting beneath the night, holding the warmth of the day, releasing it slowly. The halls are quiet now. The torches no longer shift against the walls. Only faint traces of warmth remain. The paths are empty, not abandoned, just still, as if waiting without expectation. The sky above holds its quiet pattern, points of light placed gently across the dark. If you imagine them closely, you may see a shape there, not clearly, not all at once, but gradually, a form traced between the stars, the outline of Perseus, not as he walked, but as he rests now, part of the sky, part of the stillness, a reminder that every path, no matter how distant, finds a place to settle. The air around you remains calm. Nothing shifts too quickly. Nothing calls for attention. Only the quiet. Only the soft space between moments. And if you find yourself listening still, resting somewhere between wakefulness and sleep, there are more quiet stories waiting for you. Here on the Sleepy Legends channel, you can softly like this video, subscribe, or leave a comment with a place or a legend you would like to visit next. But there is no need to do that now. That can wait. For now, the night continues, the stars remain, and the story fades into stillness, gently, endlessly.